Once upon a time, in a magical land where dreams danced like butterflies and the air shimmered with a hint of mystery, there lived a tiny creature named Tiny Starlight. Tiny Starlight was no ordinary being. She was a little fairy who sparkled like the stars in the night sky. With her delicate wings, translucent as gossamer, she flitted about her world, spreading joy wherever she went. Tiny Starlight lived in a lush meadow that was alive with colors and sounds. The flowers painted the landscape with hues of lavender, sunflower yellow, and sky blue, while the sweet melodies of birds filled the air. Each day, she would awaken with the sun, her tiny heart brimming with excitement for the adventures that lay ahead. One sunny morning, as Tiny Starlight was sipping nectar from a dewdrop, she noticed something peculiar floating in the gentle breeze. It was a dandelion seed, dancing gracefully through the air, shimmering like a tiny, delicate balloon. Its fluffy white fluff glowed faintly in the sunlight, and Tiny Starlight felt an irresistible urge to follow it. With a flutter of her wings, Tiny Starlight zipped through the meadow, laughing with delight as she chased the floating dandelion. "Where will you take me?" she called out, her voice high and melodious. The dandelion seemed to giggle in response, as if it had a secret it was eager to share. The dandelion led her on a whimsical journey across fields of wildflowers, over sparkling streams, and up the towering hills that kissed the clouds. Tiny Starlight chased it with all her might, her heart pounding with anticipation. As they reached the top of a hill, the dandelion began to drift lower, landing softly in a sunny patch of grass. Tiny Starlight landed beside it, her eyes wide with wonder. She could see now that nestled among the blades of grass was a tiny treasure, a sparkling keychain, shimmering in the sunlight like 1,000 tiny stars. It was beautiful, crafted from what seemed to be the very essence of the night sky, adorned with little charms shaped like stars, moons, and even tiny flowers. "Oh, what a marvelous find!" Tiny Starlight exclaimed, her heart racing with excitement. She picked up the keychain, holding it delicately in her tiny hands. "I wonder what door this keychain unlocks. Perhaps a door to a hidden world filled with magic and adventure." Just as she was lost in her thoughts, a gentle voice broke through her daydream. "Why, hello there, little fairy. What brings you to my meadow?" Startled, Tiny Starlight turned to see a friendly cow standing nearby. The cow was not just any cow. She was enormous yet gentle, with big, soft eyes that sparkled with kindness. Her coat was a lovely shade of brown, dotted with white patches that looked like clouds floating in the sky. "Hello," Tiny Starlight replied, her voice cheerful. "I'm Tiny Starlight, and I was chasing this lovely dandelion when I found this sparkling keychain. Do you know what it might open?" The cow stepped closer, her hooves making soft thuds against the ground. "I'm Bessie, the friendliest cow in the meadow. I've seen many things in my days, but I've never seen a keychain like that. It must be very special. Perhaps it belongs to someone nearby. Do you think we should go on an adventure to find out?" Tiny Starlight suggested, her eyes gleaming with excitement. "We could explore the meadow and ask the other animals if they recognize it." "Oh, I'd love that." Bessie mooed enthusiastically. "Let's set off right away. I know just the place to start." Together, Tiny Starlight and Bessie ventured deeper into the meadow, their spirits high with the thrill of discovery. As they walked, Tiny Starlight flew just above Bessie's head, sharing stories about her life as a fairy, while Bessie shared tales of her encounters with various animals and the wonders she'd seen grazing in the fields. They soon came upon a babbling brook where a family of ducks paddled about. Tiny Starlight fluttered down to the water's edge, her wings sparkling in the sunlight. "Excuse me, dear ducks. Have you ever seen a keychain like this?" she asked, holding up the shimmering treasure. The ducks quacked among themselves, their heads bobbing in thought. "Oh, we haven't seen that before, but perhaps the wise old owl in the ancient oak tree might know," said the mother duck, flapping her wings excitedly. "He's seen so much of the world, he might have the answer." "Thank you," Tiny Starlight called, her heart racing with anticipation. "Let's go find him, Bessie." The two friends made their way to the ancient oak tree, its massive trunk twisted and gnarled from years of standing tall. As they approached, they spotted the wise old owl perched on a low branch, his large, round eyes blinking slowly as if he had just woken up from a deep slumber. "Good day, wise owl." Tiny Starlight chimed, her voice filled with respect. "We seek your wisdom. We found this sparkling keychain and wondered if you know what it unlocks." The owl peered down at them, his eyes glinting with intrigue. "Ah, yes. I've seen such a keychain before," he hooted. "Long ago, it belonged to a young princess who lived in a castle hidden beyond the hills. It's said that the keychain can unlock a treasure chest filled with dreams and wishes." "Treasure chest?" Bessie gasped. "Oh, how exciting. But where do we find it?" "The chest lies deep within the enchanted forest, just past the Whispering Woods," the owl explained, his voice deep and wise. "But beware, young ones. The journey is filled with challenges, and only the brave of heart will reach the treasure." Tiny Starlight looked at Bessie, her heart pounding with exhilaration. "Are you ready for an adventure, Bessie? We can be brave together." Bessie nodded, her eyes shining with determination. "Absolutely. Let's find that treasure." With a wave of their hands, Tiny Starlight and Bessie set off toward the enchanted forest, their hearts full of excitement and wonder. As they approached the edge of the forest, they felt a gentle breeze that carried the sweet scent of wildflowers and a hint of magic. The trees stood tall and proud, their leaves shimmering like emeralds in the sunlight. As they entered the forest, they were greeted by a chorus of chirping birds and rustling leaves. Tiny Starlight flew above Bessie's head, her tiny wings leaving a trail of sparkling dust. "Look at how beautiful it is," she exclaimed, her eyes wide with amazement. "Indeed," Bessie agreed, taking in the sights around them. "But remember, we must stay alert for any challenges ahead." As they ventured deeper into the forest, they soon encountered their first challenge, a swift-flowing river that blocked their path. The water sparkled in the sunlight, but it looked far too deep and fast for Tiny Starlight to cross on her own. "Oh no! How will we get across?" Tiny Starlight fretted, her wings fluttering anxiously. Bessie looked around and spotted a large log nearby. "We can use that log as a bridge," she suggested, nudging it with her nose. Together, they carefully rolled the log into place, creating a sturdy path across the river. With Bessie's encouragement, Tiny Starlight took a deep breath and flew across the log, her heart racing with excitement. "We did it, Bessie," she cheered, landing safely on the other side. "That was just the beginning." Bessie smiled, her eyes twinkling. "Let's keep going." As they continued their journey, they encountered a thick thicket of brambles, the sharp thorns glinting ominously in the dappled sunlight. "How will we get through this?" Tiny Starlight asked, feeling a bit daunted. Bessie thought for a moment, then had an idea. "I can gently push the brambles apart with my strong body. You can fly ahead and guide me through." "Great idea, Bessie," Tiny Starlight replied, her spirit renewed. She flew ahead, directing Bessie as she carefully maneuvered through the thicket, inching her way forward until they were finally free. Just as they emerged from the brambles, they found themselves standing before a clearing filled with shimmering fireflies, lighting up the night like a constellation. The sight was breathtaking, and Tiny Starlight could hardly contain her joy. "It's like a magical dream," she squealed. "Let's take a moment to enjoy it," Bessie suggested, sitting down on the soft grass. Together, they watched as the fireflies danced around them, twinkling like stars in the darkening sky. As the last rays of sunlight faded, Tiny Starlight felt a warmth in her heart. "Thank you for being such a wonderful friend, Bessie. I wouldn't want to go on this adventure with anyone else." Bessie smiled, feeling the bond of friendship grow stronger. "And thank you for bringing so much joy into my life, Tiny Starlight. We make a great team." After their brief rest, they continued on, and soon they found themselves at the edge of the Whispering Woods. The trees here were taller and older, their branches swaying as if whispering secrets to one another. Suddenly, they heard a rustling sound. From behind a large tree stepped a peculiar creature with long ears and big, curious eyes. It was a rabbit, but not just any rabbit. This one wore tiny spectacles perched on its nose, and it carried a tiny map in its paws. "Hello there," the rabbit said cheerfully. "I'm Professor Whiskers, and I know these woods like the back of my paw. Are you two heading toward the enchanted forest?" "Yes," Tiny Starlight replied, her eyes lighting up with curiosity. "We're on a quest to find a treasure chest." "A treasure chest, you say?" Professor Whiskers adjusted his spectacles. "I can help you with that. But first, you must solve a riddle to pass through the woods. Are you ready?" "Absolutely," Bessie exclaimed, her ears perking up. Professor Whiskers grinned, his whiskers twitching with excitement. "Here's the riddle. I can be cracked, made, told, and played. What am I?" Tiny Starlight and Bessie exchanged thoughtful glances. "What do you think it could be?" Tiny Starlight asked, her mind racing with possibilities. Bessie pondered for a moment and then brightened. "I think it's a joke. You can crack a joke, make a joke, tell a joke, and even play a joke." Professor Whiskers clapped his paws together. "Correct. You may pass." With a grateful nod, Tiny Starlight and Bessie continued on their way, feeling proud of their teamwork. As they journeyed deeper into the Whispering Woods, they encountered a series of playful challenges, from hopping over giant mushrooms to navigating through a maze of colorful flowers. Each time, Tiny Starlight's cleverness and Bessie's strength complemented each other perfectly, and they laughed and cheered as they overcame each obstacle. Finally, after what felt like hours of adventure, they reached the edge of the enchanted forest. The trees here were even taller, their trunks thick and sturdy, with leaves that shimmered in shades of gold and silver. The air was filled with a magical energy that tingled on Tiny Starlight's skin. "We're almost there," Bessie exclaimed, her excitement palpable. "I can feel the treasure chest calling to us." They moved cautiously through the forest, listening for any signs of a chest. Suddenly, they came upon a glade bathed in soft, ethereal light. In the center of the glade stood a magnificent treasure chest, adorned with jewels that sparkled like stars in the night sky. "There it is," Tiny Starlight gasped, her heart racing. "We found it." They rushed toward the chest, but just as they were about to reach it, a low growl echoed through the glade. From the shadows emerged a great, fearsome creature, a dragon. Its scales were dark as the night, and its eyes glowed like embers. "Who dares approach my treasure?" the dragon roared, its voice rumbling like thunder. Tiny Starlight and Bessie froze in fear, but then Tiny Starlight took a deep breath and stepped forward. "We are not here to steal, Great Dragon. We only wish to unlock the treasure chest and discover its magic." The dragon narrowed its eyes, studying them closely. "And what makes you worthy of my treasure?" Tiny Starlight thought for a moment and then replied, "We have proven our bravery, teamwork, and kindness throughout our journey. We wish to share the magic of this treasure with others." The dragon considered this for a long moment before nodding slowly. "Very well. If you can answer one final riddle, I will allow you to open the chest." Tiny Starlight and Bessie exchanged glances, their hearts pounding. "We're ready," they declared in unison. The dragon spoke the riddle. "What has keys but can't open locks, has space but no room, and you can enter but can't go outside?" Bessie's eyes widened with realization. "A piano," she exclaimed, her voice filled with excitement. "It has keys, space, and music, and you can enter a song but can't physically go inside." The dragon let out a low chuckle, impressed. "You are correct. You may open the chest." With bated breath, Tiny Starlight approached the treasure chest. She took the sparkling keychain and placed it in the lock. With a soft click, the chest creaked open, revealing a cascade of shimmering light and colorful dreams swirling inside. As the light enveloped them, Tiny Starlight and Bessie felt an overwhelming sense of happiness and warmth. They looked inside and saw tiny floating dreams taking shape, dreams of laughter, friendship, and adventure. It was a treasure beyond their wildest imagination. "You see, young ones," the dragon said, its voice gentle now, "the true treasure lies not in material wealth, but in the dreams and experiences you share with one another." Tiny Starlight and Bessie smiled at each other, realizing the truth of the dragon's words. We will share these dreams with everyone in the meadow," Tiny Starlight declared. With that, they collected some of the glowing dreams in their tiny hands and began their journey back home. As they passed through the enchanted forest and the whispering woods, they shared the magic of their adventure with every creature they met, from the joyful quacks of the ducks to the excited chirps of the birds. Every animal listened in awe as Tiny Starlight and Bessie recounted their journey: the floating dandelion, the sparkling keychain, and the wise dragon guarding the treasure. As they finally returned to their meadow, Tiny Starlight and Bessie felt a deep sense of fulfillment. They had not only discovered a treasure, but had also forged an unbreakable bond of friendship. The meadow glowed in the twilight, flowers swaying gently in the breeze. "We did it, Bessie," Tiny Starlight exclaimed, twirling in the air. "This was the best adventure ever." "Yes, it was," Bessie replied, her heart full of joy. "And there are many more adventures waiting for us." From that day on, Tiny Starlight and Bessie became the keepers of dreams, sharing their story with every creature in the meadow and beyond. They understood that the greatest treasures were those found in friendship, bravery, and the magic of sharing. And so, the tiny fairy and her friendly cow continued to embark on countless adventures, forever chasing the sparkle of dreams and the joy of togetherness, knowing that the world was filled with wonders just waiting to be discovered. And with that thought, Tiny Starlight and Bessie's laughter echoed through the meadow, a beautiful melody carried by the wind, promising that their adventures would never truly end.